Aunt Petunia and Uncle Dursley are like, hey, no, we know he's a magic boy. And they're like, wait. You knew I was a magic boy? And they're like, yeah, we knew you were a magic boy. And he's like, why didn't you say?
Not a wizard, but a magic
He's
boy.
a magic boy. We have magic boys and magic girls. Hogwarts School of Magic Boy and Magic Girl.
What's up, everybody? This is Zach.
And Allie.
With Nerd Cave. Today is an auspicious day.
Auspicious
day. $5 word for everybody.
Yes.
This is the start of something new.
Something brand new.
A whole new world.
A whole new world for all of us.
Yeah. This is a new show we're trying out. We had discussed it, and the show title, so we don't like go off on a tangent before we name it.
Yes.
The show title is As Far As I Can Remember.
As far as I can remember.
And the premise is we're going to talk about things that we love.
Yeah, it could be like the two big ones we're talking about now are like movies or books. We might do like TV shows, maybe.
Or video games, something
like
that.
Yeah, video games.
But we try to like retell the story.
Because it's been a while since we have experienced these stories.
Yeah, so the challenge is to like explain the story, tell everything, but the rule is you can't go, I don't remember.
Yeah, so if you don't remember, you have to just make something up. You can't be like, oh, but I don't remember if he goes to the store. You have to say, and then he goes to Walmart?
Yeah, you just gotta fill in the blanks.
Gotta fill in the blanks. Gotta keep it going. All right, here we go. Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, Book 1.
Or the Philosopher's
Stone. They changed it to Sorcerer's Stone in America because they thought you were too stupid to understand Philosopher's Stone. That is 100% true.
So the ground rules have been established. The show's been established.
Yes.
Regale us
with
the tale of...
So, as far as I can remember, we actually start off with a normal Muggle family. And we find out this man's name, his name is Mr. Dursley, Vernon Dursley, and he's going off to work. He's got, he lives with his wife and his just turned 1-year-old child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pugsley.
Yeah, Pugs. No. And his wife's name is Petunia, and their son's name is Dudley. And so he's going to work, and he's walking outside, and he's like, he's seeing a bunch of these weirdly dressed people when he gets into town. And he's like, what? These people are wearing these weird multicolored robes, some weird fashion. He's like, people. And then he sees an older man walk out with these robes, and he's like, wow, this old guy, he's insane.
Yeah.
And then this old man comes up to him and he's like, aren't you so happy? Aren't you super excited? This is the best day ever. By the way, this would be, I guess, technically it's November 1st. Yes. Because I remember.
Yeah, as far as you remember.
As far as I remember.
It was November 1st.
November 1st. And then he gets home, after a long day of work, there's weird stuff he's seeing, a bunch of owls flying around during the day, and he's like, that's weird, owls don't usually fly around during the day. No. He gets home, and then there's reports of some crazy stuff going on around. There's weird fireworks shows going on. They're like, what is this? And then later that night, sorry, my stomach's making all kinds of weird noises.
We'll get another mic to just record your stomach. It adds to the ambiance.
Exactly. So later that night, an old man in some funky robes, he's walking down the street.
Funky fresh
robes because he's funky fresh.
Yeah.
Comes out and sees the old man. He's come down. He sees this cat who's actually been hanging outside the Dursleys' house all day, and he's like, hey, yo, cat girl, I know who you are. Pop on up. And it's, oh my gosh, it's a woman, and her name turns out to be McGonagall. And she's like, hey, look, are you sure that we should leave this kid with this family? Because this family sucks. I've been watching them all day. Their kid's a spoiled brat. The mom sucks. The dad's awful. Don't do this. And the old man, whose name is Dumbledore, is like, it'll be fine.
A real character.
He'll be fine. And I mean, how else is he gonna have a tragic backstory? And so then Q and
abuse, mental, physical, and emotional.
and then comes down a big man on a giant bike. Comes down. His name's Hagrid, and he's holding this little baby. And Dumbledore's like, "Hey, Hagrid, that's a sweet bike. Where'd you get that?" And Hagrid's like, "Oh, this dude named Sirius Black. You know him." And Dumbledore's like, "Yeah, of course I know him. Everyone knows him. We don't need to talk about him. We all know who he is." And of course you're sitting there like, "What?" He's like, "He lent me his bike, and so I have the bike." And then he's like, "All right, cool. We're gonna leave this kid here." And so he drops him off on the doorstep and is like, "Peace." And it turns out that it's actually the Dursley's nephew, and his name is Harry Potter. And there's a note attached to him explaining, "Hey, his parents are dead. You have to raise him." Yeah, no, like you turn the page in the book, and then the theme song starts playing.
Yeah, because it's a music book.
Exactly.
It's like a Hallmark card.
And then throughout the years, Harry, he's experiencing all these like weird stuff, but also, yeah, like his aunt and uncle and his cousin, they just hate him. They're constantly like ragging on him. They're like, "You suck. We hate you." Like he's always getting Dudley's hand-me-downs, which are always way too big for him. So they're trying to like shrink his clothes. And there's instances where like all these like weird things are happening, and he's like, "Whoa, how did this happen?" Like one time Dudley and his friends, they're chasing him, and next thing he knows, he's on top of this school gym.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember, he's on top of some building, and
right.
they're like, how did you get up there?
Cafeteria?
As far as I can remember, it was a school building.
I remember it was at school, but
yeah.
I think it was the cafeteria.
Sure.
I'm helping you out here.
No help. Yeah. And then like there's times never, because like Harry has this like wild, jet black hair with green eyes. It's okay. I like to give slack for that, but I actually don't mind that much, because like they tried to give Daniel Radcliffe contacts, but he had a bad reaction to them, so they're like, never mind, we're just not gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's totally fine. But anyway, so Aunt Petunia, she's like trying to cut his hair, and it's like super super short, and then like cut to like the next morning, and his hair's totally like grown out again, and she's like, I give up. So cut to he's 10, almost 11 years old, and they're going to the zoo for Dudley's birthday. Yeah. And they're with his friend whose name is John.
Phil and Jim.
Yep. As far as I can remember, the friend's name will be John.
Phil and Jim. He's got to have a last name.
John, Phil and Jim. It's John Buttface. Because his friend's a butt.
Face.
Anyway, so Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon are like, all right, well, let's drop this kid, Harry, let's drop him off at the neighbor's house because she'll watch him. But it's like, oh no, she's sick. And so they have to take him with them to the zoo. And when he's there, the two snot-nosed kids are going off doing whatever, banging on glasses, being mean to animals. Yeah. And then Harry interacts with this the snake. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, wait, the snake starts talking back. And Harry's like, well, I feel like I should probably be concerned about this. But, I mean, hey, so maybe people just talk to snakes. Yeah. I mean, I'm only 10. I don't know.
Yeah. He couldn't be dropping acid at this point. He's too young.
Yeah, he's way too young. He's like, no, I'm not high. This is insane. And so then he talks to the snake, and then Dudley's like, oh my gosh, look, the snake is doing stuff. And then I think the friend actually is the one who pushes Harry out of the way, and then maybe both of them, as far as I can remember, one or if not both of them get stuck because Harry's looking at them, the glass vanishes, and then one, if not both the boys, get...
You gotta go with one or the other.
One or the other. Oh, no.
There
Everyone in the zoo gets trapped in the snake glass.
Gosh, everybody.
No,
Was the snake that hungry?
As far as I can remember, I believe both boys get stuck in there.
No, you're not giving me details.
No.
You're giving me like ifs.
No. Okay, as far as I can remember, both boys get stuck in the thing. And so then they're like, they're all like, oh, Harry, how'd you do this? And he's like, how could I have done this? I am 10. The glass vanished, and then it was back, and they were stuck. How am I responsible for this? I'm not a heist, mastermind. I didn't do this. And they're like, well, you're not going to eat dinner for a week. And he's like, this is messed up. I don't think you can legally do this. But then...
Where's HR?
And then all of a sudden, these weird like letters start coming in the mail, and they have these like cool like wax insignias on them, and it's addressed to Harry, and he's like, I've never gotten mail before. This is cool. And then his aunt and uncle see that, and they flip, and they're like, no, you give us that letter. And he's like, no. And they're like, no, give us the letter. And he's like, no, it's my letter. But they steal it from him. They get rid of it. But these letters, they keep coming no matter what. Like Aunt Petunia, she's cracking eggs. The letter's inside the egg. How'd it get in there? We don't know. It's like magic, but magic can't be real. That's impossible.
Yeah. Book's not about magic.
Book's not about magic.
It's about counting.
Yeah, exactly. It's about a young boy who's growing up.
Yeah. As an accountant.
And as an accountant.
To prove his family that
I'm just
he
imagining
can do
Harry Potter becoming an accountant now. Just like, yes, hello.
Oh, you forgot to carry your one.
But then flash forward, so the letters keep on coming, they keep coming. So flash forward, they're like, so Uncle Vernon's like, we got to get out of this house because the letters keep following us. So they go to like a motel or something, but letters still find them there. Then they go out to this weird like cottage lighthouse lake thing in like the middle of a lake or ocean. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
In the middle of a body of water.
What kind of body of water?
The ocean.
The ocean.
The
Wow,
ocean,
that's
sure.
impressive.
Well, I mean, they're in England, so they're
Could
there.
you describe in detail
Describe in detail the what?
the lighthouse?
The lighthouse. Yes, it's like it's dark, it's stormy. That's like it's very like torn down. They actually did a fairly good job like capturing that feeling in the movie. But anyway, so Harry's like, this sucks, but it's my birthday, so he's like, well, happy birthday to me, and he's crying because he's like, no, he's just turning 11, and then all of a sudden, well, bam, and he's like, wow, the waves sure are getting loud out there, banging up against the door, and then well, bam again, and Harry's like, sure are getting loud out there, and then well, bam again, and Harry's like, okay, something's up. I might die. And then bam, door breaks down, and Harry's like, oh my gosh, this storm, we're gonna get swept away, we're going to die. But who is it? It's the giant man Hagrid from before, and he's like, hey, Harry, my dude, my guy, what is up? And Harry's like, I have no idea who you are. And Hagrid's like, wait, no, that's dumb. It's me, it's Hagrid. Like, don't worry about it. And he's like, so you ready to go to Hogwarts? And Harry's like, go to where? And then like the Dursleys are like, and Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia are like, no, stop this. He's not going with you. And Harry's like, what are you guys talking about? Can someone like please bring me into the loop of what's happening? Mm-hmm. And Hagrid's like, you're
secretly, this is foreshadowing of the whole series.
It really is. It really is. Just Harry Potter in the series where could someone please just tell me what's happening? Anyway, the Dursleys or Hagrid's like, hey man, you're magic. You're a wizard, Harry. And Harry's like,
I was gonna bring it up.
Harry's like, okay, yes, like, or no, okay, so just you're here to kidnap us and ransom us. Okay, just let's get this over with. Hagrid's like, no, you're a magic boy. And Harry's like, what? And then
to prove it, he gave him a cake.
He does have a cake for him.
Yeah, to prove that he's magic,
he gives him a cake that he baked himself. But this is beautiful. Aunt Petunia and Uncle Dursley are like, hey, no, we know he's a magic boy. And Harry's like, wait. You knew I was a magic boy? And they're like, yeah, we knew you're a magic boy. And he's like, why didn't you say
not a wizard, but a magic
He's
boy.
a magic boy. We have magic boys and magic girls. Hogwarts School of Magic Boy and Magic Girl. And they're like, yeah, but you're not going with you. And Harry's like, no. I'm a magic boy. I'm going to go study magic boy stuff. And so Hagrid's like, yeah, I'm taking a piece. And then they get on the motorcycle and they leave and they go to London. And they go into this place that's like, Harry's like, why are all the people walking past this place? And Hagrid's like, well, it's magic, so only magic people can see it, right? And so they go in, and it's Leaky Cauldron, and there's all these people, and they're like, whoa. And Hagrid's like, hey, guys, I'm here with this kid, he's Harry Potter. And everyone's like, oh, Harry Potter. And Harry's like,
he's a magic boy.
He's like, yeah, I'm a magic boy. My name's Harry Potter. Like, yeah, we know who you are. And he's like, wait, what do you mean you know who I am? And they're like, bro, you're Harry Potter. And he's like, yes, I know what my name is. And they're like, bro, you're Harry Potter.
You're the magic boy.
The magic boy. And he's like, Hagrid, what is this? And he's like, I'm not the person to talk about this with. And Harry's like, you're literally the only person I know who knows about magic.
Again. Will someone
tell me? And then he runs into this one guy, and Harry's like, my head kind of hurts a little bit, but like only a little bit. And it's this dude, his name's Squirrel. If I call him Squirrel, it's gonna happen, probably. And And he's like, oh, you're Harry Potter. I'm going to be your teacher at Hogwarts. That's going to be cool. And Harry's like, I don't know what that means, but thank you. Dope. And so they go off into Diagon Alley, which is a little wizardy, magic-y market.
Magic people.
Yeah,
place.
magic people marketplace. And so he's able to get his school books, his cauldrons, his scales, and then they go to first Harry's like, I don't have any money, and Hagrid's like, oh dude, no, don't worry, you're like loaded, and Harry's like, no, I'm not. I'm 11. I've never known
anything of luxury.
Pretty much.
I lived under the stairs.
And he was like, no, don't worry about it. So they go to the bank, Gringotts, which is run by goblins. And then they go into a vault, and he's like, see, look, no, your parents left you all this money, and it's like piles of gold. And Harry's like, I'm rich.
Now, were the Potters drug dealers?
No, but obviously, because Harry's related to the Dursleys on his mother's side. Petunia was his mother's sister.
She was a mudblood.
Yes, excuse you, Muggle-born. Mudblood's derogatory.
Oh, sorry, she was a mudblood.
But his father, James Potter, like, he came from a very wealthy family.
Oh, okay. And, I'm sure the life insurance, like...
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah, because his parents are heckin' dead.
Yeah. Take out your life insurance in case an evil wizard murders your family in their sleep.
Okay, let's be real. Eventually, I'm sure after the series, Harry was like, you know what? I'm gonna go get a life insurance policy just to be safe. Although, if he got one beforehand, we're getting into, like, some spoiler territory.
Oh, yeah.
But, anyway.
We'll get the book 7.
Yeah, book 7 later. Anyway, so he sees he's got tons of money, so they get the money, but Hagrid's like, no. Harry's like, I'm gonna take all of it. Hagrid's like, no, let's take what you need, leave the rest of it here. And Harry's like, but Hagrid's like, dude, trust me, you're gonna thank me later, let's be responsible with your money. And Harry's like, fine. So they take what they need, and, a little extra for some funsy stuff. And they buy all this stuff, and then he gets this wand.
And then, like, Hagrid, what else does he do at the bank?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would totally skip past that and, like, later been like, oh, and then by the way. Because that's just how my mind works. So, and then Hagrid's like, oh, by the way, while we're here, I gotta run a little errand for Dumbledore. He's the headmaster. He's super cool. You guys are gonna be, like, best bros later. And Harry's like, I don't know what any of that means, but okay.
Bros.
Bro.
Like, he's trying to explain bros.
Okay, so bros are, they're like your friend. And Harry's like, what?
I've never known friendship.
I've never had a brother. I mean, honestly, it's true. At that point, Harry actually had never truly known friendship.
I know, but
it's
it
like,
just...
I've never known friendship. I've only known hardships and loneliness and stardust. And so...
They used to sing to me. It's like, okay.
And then he like, calls up Dumbledore like, hey man, are you sure this is the great kid?
I think we got there a little late.
Ooh.
You know what bros meant?
Dumbledore's like, wait, does it know what bros are? No. Ooh, we might have messed up this one.
McGonagall's just sitting there, she's like
yeah, she's just like, I told you. But so he drops off and he brings out because Hagrid's again, he's a half giant, he's this big dude.
Yeah.
And he pulls this tiny little package out. He's like, I'm gonna. Sorry, I keep bumping stuff. Or actually, no, he retrieves the package, and he's like, "Don't tell anyone about this." And Harry's like, "I don't know what that is. How can I tell anyone about it?" Hagrid's like, "Don't you tell anyone." He's like, "I'm not gonna tell anyone." Don't you tell anyone. Harry's like, "I'm not gonna tell."
We're not bros. And he's like,
I don't know what that means. I like this new canon we have where Harry doesn't know what bros are. It's really great.
And by the 7th book, he finally
gets
understands.
it. And he's like, oh, the real treasure were the bros we made along the way. Anyway, so they get it. And then they go to the wand shop, and it's this old dude named Mr. Ollivander, and he's like, ooh, I make wands. Ooh. And Harry's like, wait, I'm getting a wand? And they're like, yeah, you have to have one. And Harry's like, this is the best day ever. I'm gonna cast magic. They're like, no. Hold it there. You can't cast magic outside of school. And Harry's like, well, then what's the point? Then what is the point? Like, well, when you get to a certain age, then you can. He's like, yeah, but I don't care about that. I want to do magic now. I'm a magic boy.
I do magic things.
And so they're trying a bunch of different wands. None of them work, but then he gets this one wand, and it's like, oh. And Ollivander's like, ooh, that's the wand, because the wizard is not the wand, chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter. This is my Ollivander. And he's like, but it's weird, because this wand, it's like, because the same phoenix tail feather that's in it, the phoenix actually gave us 2 tail feathers, and the other one is in the wand that killed your parents. And Harry's like, that was a big statement to unpack. Could you repeat that? And Ollivander's like, nope. Leave. Time to leave. And he just goes back.
I'm a magic man.
he's just like, you need to leave my shop and lock the door on the way out. As he like goes back into the back of his shop.
Like your version of Ollivander reminds me of the movie version of in Fantastic Beasts 2, the guy that's like the really old guy.
Oh, of Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, that's who he reminds me of.
I mean, they're basically the same person, right?
Yeah.
But then Hagrid's like, okay, Harry, you need to go get fitted for your robes. So he goes and gets fitted for his robes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this
He's
kid
like,
there.
something finally fits.
He's like, yeah, really? He's like, this is so strange. I've never had clothes that were like tailored to fit me. This is insane. And while he's standing there's this kid. He's got pale blonde hair. And he's I was to take it your first year too. And Harry's like, yeah, sure. Is that what that means?
No one tells me anything.
And he's like, it's a shame that first years can't try for Quidditch. And Harry's like, what was that word you just said? He's like, because otherwise I'd be a secret. I'd be amazing. And Harry's like, you're saying a bunch of words. And he's like, what house do you think you're going to be in? Because I know I'm going to be in the best house. And Harry's like, house? No, wait, what? I thought we were going to school.
I get a house.
Like, I thought we were going to school. Wait, am I gonna have to pay rent? I don't have that kind of money.
But then he's like, but I do have that
he's
money.
like, oh, but I do have that money. I don't want to spend it on rent though.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah. And then he's like, as the boy keeps talking, Harry's like, this kid like sucks. He's like really annoying. I hope I never have to see him again. And then Hagrid's like, hey, Harry, I'm going to get you some ice cream. Let's go get some ice cream. And then, as far as I can remember, sometime in the meantime, they get, Hagrid's like, hey, man, you can get a pet. Here's an owl. They're, like, really, like, dependable. And Harry's like, I'm going to name her Hedwig. Fun fact, not a lot of people know, but Hedwig is a girl.
I didn't know that.
It's true.
I've learned something today.
Yeah, Hedwig is a girl.
And that Harry Potter didn't know what bros was.
Harry Potter doesn't know what bros are. I mean, to this day, maybe it's one of those he claims he does, but he still doesn't know. But so then Hagrid's like, okay, well, we've gotten all your school stuff, so I got to drop you back off at your parents' house, or your uncle and uncle's house. And Harry's like, do you have to? And Hagrid's like, yes. But here's your train ticket. Gets you on to platform 9 3/4. And Harry's like, that's not a real place. He's like, so just make sure they drop you off and peace. And Harry's like, cool. Then comes the day, it's September 1st, Dursleys, they get him in the car, they just, like, don't say a word to him, they just drop him off at King's Cross Station, and they're like, okay, we're gone.
We wash our hands of you.
Pretty much, they're like, we don't care if you get lost, like, we're done, you're on your own now.
You're a magic boy now.
You're a magic boy now, and he's like, I am a magic boy now. He's like, no, I've always been magic boy. And so then he's going, and he's like, okay, 9 3/4, this is stupid, this is all a big joke. They're playing pranks on me. And then all of a sudden, he hears his family. It's a bunch of redheads. And he's like, ooh, they know what they're doing. They're talking about platform 9 3/4. I'm going to follow them. And then the mom of the group comes over and she's like, hi, honey, where are your parents? And he's like, and she's like, he's kind of like, and she's like, oh, don't worry. Just, come with me. We're going to Hogwarts too, and go stand by my son. His name, actually, no, I'm not going to tell you his name yet. Just go stand over there by the tiny one. He's like, okay. And then he's
by
just
the redheaded one.
By the redheaded one. And Harry's like, she's like, I'm just kidding. The one with the R on his sweater. And he's like, okay. As far as I can remember, we'll say that they had those sweaters on. I know they have them on in the movie. But
You've got to be definitive.
Okay, as far as I can remember, they have those sweaters on in the book.
There we
go. And then he sees this little girl who's kind of like being like really skittish. It's like the only girl aside from the mom in the family. And Harry's like, I don't know who she is, but nothing's gonna happen with this girl. I'll probably never see her again in my life.
Foreshadow.
And so then they get through they get on the train, all this stuff. And then they're on the train, and suddenly like word gets back because like they see the light. Because Harry has a lightning scar on his forehead. Because I totally skipped over some stuff. So before Hagrid drops him back off, we're backtracking a second. Before Hagrid backtracks. Before Hagrid drops him off at the Dursleys, Harry's like, okay, look, I need answers. People keep talking about how I'm the boy who lived and my parents are dead. Is there any connection with this? Especially because apparently they were killed. And Hagrid's like, I don't know. And Harry's like, don't you do this to me, man. Don't you do this.
We are
bros. And bros tell each other things. And Hagrid's like, you're getting it.
You are correct, bro.
And so Hagrid's like, okay, look, so here's what happened. There's this dark wizard, his name, we don't say it. And Harry's like, okay, but what's the name? And he's like, okay, fine, it's Voldemort. And Harry's like, Voldemort? And he's like, don't say his name. And Harry's like, I don't care, I'm gonna say it. I don't care. Voldemort, ooh, Voldemort. That's an old video. So he tells him that this guy named Voldemort, super evil wizard, killed his parents, tried to kill Harry, but he couldn't. And that's how he got the lightning scar on his forehead. Yeah. But as far as everyone knew, that it bounced off Harry, hit Voldemort, and then Voldemort died. And everyone's like, that's why you're the boy who lived. No one's ever survived that killing curse before, besides from you. And Harry's like, that's a great thing to be remembered for, that I lived and my parents didn't. Great.
I'm a magic boy.
I've been traumatized. Anyways, okay, so flash back forward.
Now we're in time.
So they see the scar, and the Mama Weasley, because the redhead family, their last names turns out to be the Weasleys. She's like, oh my gosh, no, of course, that's why he didn't have his parents with him. Oh my gosh, this poor kid. Like, that's so sad. And Ginny's like, or excuse me, and then the little girl, because the mom's like, Ginny, stop. You're being annoying and weird and you're 10 and stop. And she's like, I'm going to marry that boy one day. And she's like, no, you're not. You absolutely are not. You better stop. And she's like, no, I'm going to.
Does she say that?
She says something very, like, along those lines. Like, she's very much like, I want to see him. Let me see him. Mom, let me see him. And she's like, Ginny, stop. And she's like, no, I just want to look at him. I just want to see him. So, as far as I can remember, she says something like that.
Okay.
And so they're on the train, and then in comes the boy from earlier, and he's like, hey, my name's Ron. What's your name? And he's like, oh, I'm Harry Potter. And Ron's like, whoa, hold the phone. Harry's like, what's a phone? Just kidding. Harry knows what a phone is. Ron does not. But,
yeah.
And Ron's like, bro.
He's like,
you're Harry Potter. And he's like, yeah, I'm Harry Potter. And he's like, bro. And Harry's like, wait, are we bros? And Ron's like, we're bros now. And Harry's like, okay, cool. So
he's like, what's up, bro?
Yeah. So you're like, we're bros. And he's like, yeah. So a bro would tell me something. Yeah. It's like, what is a bro? And Ron's like, oh, okay. Thinking he's joking. And Harry's like, I don't know what a bro is. Every time he tries to ask someone, they just think he's joking. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit further on their train ride, because they're going out to Hogwarts. This girl with like big old fuzzy hair walks in, and she's like, hey, this guy is looking for his pet
describe
toad.
Her hair.
It's like really fuzzy and floofy.
So it's an afro?
No, although a lot of people did interpret it that way, apparently.
Okay.
No, it's just very like, it's just frizzy.
Yeah.
It's kind of unkempt. She's just, she's
curly.
11. Yeah, it's curly and just frizzy.
Wavy and just...
Yeah. And Ron's like, you suck, leave us alone. And she's like, my name's Hermione. And Ron's like, I don't care, you suck and leave us alone. And she's like, okay. So she leaves them alone.
Because they're a lot meaner in
They
the books.
are, especially Ron. They are so mean to her in the books. Especially, like, they start to chill out in 4, but 1 through 3, they are awful to Hermione. And I'm like, I don't know why she stayed friends with them. But,
she just wanted to be a bro.
Yeah. And so then we get to the school, and they're going on boats across the lake, and Hagrid's like, hey, Harry, what's up? And Harry's like, hey, bro.
Winking at him on finger gun,
Hagrid's
Spider-Man
like,
3.
And then, so they get there, and all of a sudden, pale hair boy's like, oh, so you're Harry Potter. And Harry's like, oh, gross, it's that pale-haired kid from earlier. He sucks. And he's like, he's like, I want to be your friend. And Harry's like, I don't want to be your friend. And he's like, now you have created a blood feud that will last through the ages. And Harry's like, okay. So then they go in, they're like, oh, here's the 4 houses. You have Slytherin, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff. And Harry's like, those aren't real things. That's stupid.
Ooh, let's just make up words like, bro.
Like, bro, and friendship. Okay.
I miss my staircase.
And family. Like, what even is that? Okay. And so they're like, He gets there and the Sorting Hat's like, because everyone's like, oh, Slytherin's bad, and Harry's like, oh, okay, I guess the snake one's bad. And so then the Hat's like, hey, do you want to be in the snake house or the lion house? And Harry's like, the lion house. And Hat's like, are you sure about that? And Harry's like, yeah, I don't want to be with pale-haired boy over there because he sucks. And the Hat's like, he has a name. His name's Malfoy. And Harry's like, I don't care about his name.
And he has lice. You're showing his lice.
No, because they always say his hair's like super greasy. And if your hair's greasy, you're not going to have lice.
Just go with it. He had lice.
Oh, yes, and improv, and
and it spread to the whole first year students.
Because if it gets on the hat, then everyone's putting on the
yes.
Oh, gross.
Everybody after you.
and the Hat's like, are you sure about that, bro? And Harry's like, okay, look. So we're having this like internal conversation. What is a bro? And Hat's like, that's really funny. Go to Gryffindor. And Harry's like, come on. So then they're having some fun shenanigans. Yip skip hooray. Harry and Ron, they're being like total BFFs, like just having a great time. Yeah. And Hermione's like, hey guys, and they're like, leave us alone. We don't want to talk to you. Leave us alone.
Your face needs to go over there.
Your face needs to be not in our face. It needs to be out of our like vision. Could you like go to the other side of the castle, please, and thank you.
Go with the headless guy.
Yeah. So and then each house has a ghost. It's the Bloody Baron for Slytherin, the Grey Lady for Ravenclaw, the Fat Friar for Hufflepuff, and the Nearly Headless Nick for Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
And they're just chilling. There's a ton of ghosts in school. One of their professors, Professor Binns, he's a history of magic professor. Is a history professor. He's the history professor.
Yep.
And he's a ghost.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't talk about it in the movies. And then there's also, the school has a poltergeist named Peeves, who's actually comes up a lot throughout the books.
He's just peeved off all the time.
Pretty much. But he's like total like prankster, always does jokes, always does this and that.
So I read like the first 3.
Yeah, but like getting a little ahead of things, like the only time he ever listens to a student is in the 5th book. He like Fred and George tell him to do something and he does it. Other than that, he like never listens to anybody because he only does what he wants. But Fred and George are very like they're all kindred spirits in that sense.
Oh yeah. I want to get some to join him.
Spoilers.
Everybody's like, oh my god,
which one? Anyway, so they're having like fun adventures, and then there's Potion Man. His name's Snape, and he's like Harry, and Harry's like, yeah, and he's like, I hate you.
You've got to do the voice.
Harry Potter, I hate you. And Harry's like, I don't know who you are. And he's like, I don't care, I still hate you.
Are you Squidward out of water?
And he's like, I don't like you. And then he's like, it's your first day. What about, how do you make this potion? And Harry's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, what are the difference between these 2 ingredients? And Harry's like, I don't know. And Hermione's like, I know. And then Harry's like, okay, look, my dude, my guy, clearly you're trying to embarrass me, but if you want the actual right answer, call on this one girl over here who I don't particularly care for one way or the other. Because Harry's more just indifferent to her. He doesn't care. Whereas Ron is very much more like, this is my friend, leave us alone.
Yeah.
And then he's like, so why don't you like call on her? Because apparently she knows. And Snape's like, 10,000 points from Gryffindor. How dare you talk back to me? And Harry's like, so you suck, and I guess I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. Cool. He's cool, bro. And Snape's like, no. And Harry's like, all right, okay, we're getting closer. Figuring stuff out.
So this is not what a bro is.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Not negative.
Like he's got like this whole note. Like instead of actually taking notes in class, like his whole time
it would explain why he never has any idea of what's going on.
The whole time he's like, his 4 years at Hogwarts is him trying to figure out what a bro is instead of learning spells and potions.
It's why he only knows Expelliarmus. It's the only reason. It's why he only knows that one spell.
Could you imagine how powerful he would have been if he would actually paid attention?
No, like that's like the whole thing is that it's like he was extremely powerful, but like he never paid attention to anything.
Like he gets done with that conversation.
Yeah, and then so they're having good fun times, and then comes Halloween, and they're like, and Ron's like, leave us alone, Hermione. How many times? Leave us alone. And Hermione's like, and goes to cry in a girl's bathroom. Or as they call it, the laboratory. I like that they have fancier words for bathroom or restroom. It's the lavatory.
I like it as a restroom. Like, I just like to go in there and just rest.
Yeah, same. I go in there just sit on my phone.
Yeah, like, that's anywhere. Like, I spend some time in the bathroom. Like, not even really doing anything. I'm just
just sitting there,
resting.
just watching stuff on my phone, just like every 5 seconds, just.
You know, it's just like, hey, if you're gonna call it a restroom,
I'm gonna be resting. I'm resting in that room.
Yeah, I'm gonna rest.
But then Professor Quirrell bursts through the door, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, a troll got in."
Now, who is Professor Quirrell? Like,
he's the guy that we met earlier. So he teaches the class called Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Ooh, boogie, boogie, boogie.
And he wears a turban on the back of his head, which they say was a gift from a place he went to.
What place would that be?
South America.
South America.
As far as I can remember, I think it was South America.
Interesting. I didn't know they had turbans down there.
They don't. I don't think.
Ah, okay.
But that doesn't apply because that's like real world knowledge stuff. As far as I can remember, it's somewhere in South America, maybe like Central America.
Bingo bongo.
Bingo bongo. As far as I remember, it's somewhere not North America. In the Americas, that's not North America.
Let's just call it, as far as I remember.
As far as I can remember, it's South America.
It's somewhere called Bingo Bongo.
It's somewhere. Yeah, as far as I can remember.
Mars.
So yeah, Professor Quirrell, he was like studying vampires, and he gets attacked by some. He doesn't turn into a vampire, but they like are like, get out of our territory, and he's like, oh. And so that's why he's like super skittish, and everyone feels kind of bad for him because he's just kind of this lonely guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my gosh, a troll got in, and Dumbledore's like, who left the door? How did a troll get in? Guys, who's not closing the door after they come in? Guys, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
I feel that.
Yeah. And then whenever he says that, Snape is like, Harry looks back and Snape's gone. And he's like, where'd Snape go? That's suspicious.
Snape's got to go to the bathroom.
And Harry's like, no. But then, and he's like, oh, wait, bathroom. Dude, Hermione's in the bathroom. Ron's like, I don't care. And Harry's like, dude, okay, look, don't get me wrong. I don't particularly care about her one way or the other either. But, like, we can't, the troll's gonna get her.
She's part of our house.
Yeah, she's part of our house. We gotta help her out. Plus, think about how many house points we're gonna get. And Ron's like, okay, let's go. Yeah. So they get in there, and there's a troll. And they're just banging on all the stalls. They're like, oh my gosh, Hermione, dude, my guy, my dude. And Harry's like, bro. And Ron's like, I mean, sure. And Harry's like, I'm figuring it out. bro, save someone from a troll. There
now,
we go.
Could you describe what the troll looks like? Because I'm thinking of an internet troll.
Okay.
Like he's like
as far as I can
with a
remember,
big
the troll
keyboard.
is like, as far as I can remember, the troll is 7 foot tall. He is kind of doofy looking, doesn't look very bright, smells really bad, smells like gross, like sweaty feet and boogers and just all kinds of fun, nasty smells.
Fun, nasty stuff.
Fun, nasty smells. And he's got finasty, and he's got this big club, and he's banging stuff around.
Is he blue?
I believe he is, as far as I can remember, he is supposed to be a pale, like, tan green.
Because I think in the movies that made him blue.
As far as I can remember, he's supposed to be green.
I don't remember.
As far as I can remember, he's green.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you can say you don't remember. As far as I remember, he's green in the book. Again, talking about the book.
So we're hammering the show title.
Yeah, as far as I can remember. And then, but they managed to trick the troll and make him knock himself out with his own club, so they save Hermione.
So they trolled the troll.
They trolled the troll. And then McGonagall comes in, and she's like, what happened here? He's like, we took down a troll. And she's like, okay, that's impressive and all, but, like, bro, what the heck? And here's like... So she awards them house points, and then...
10 house points. That's all they get for a troll.
Yeah, that's all they get for a troll.
And someone picked up a piece of garbage earlier and got 20.
They got 20 because they put it in the recycle.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it's a line from the book that it's one thing that I won't forget. It's like, there's some things in life you can't go through without becoming friends afterwards, namely getting chased by a giant troll. And so the three of them are now like, we went through some life, some traumatizing stuff. I think we're all chill. We're good now. We're friends. We're bros. Yeah. And Harry's like, so bros don't have to be guys.
Interesting. And like he's like doing a presentation later in life. He was like, through all of my travels,
and they're all like, "Oh, dude, you were serious?"
like he puts this like publishes like this huge
Like
research
it's like a huge like thesis paper.
for his doctorate in its own bros.
That would work out really well because it'd have been like unless he got it earlier, like in terms of like the book timeline, like it would have been like the early 2000s if he was getting his doctorate. That'd been worked out really well.
Yeah.
So then they're all bros. Everything's cool. It's chill. We're having a good fun time. Then Christmas rolls around. They will actually sort of before Christmas, as far as I can remember, they read in the newspaper, "Oh my gosh, there was a break-in at Gringotts. That's super weird." And Harry's like, "What day?" And she's like, "Oh, this day." And Harry's like, "Well, I was at Gringotts that day." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, did you steal it?" And Harry's like, "What? No."
Yep.
No, I didn't steal it. And Hermione's like, "But did you see who stole it?" And he's like, "Well, maybe, but I don't know who it was." And she's like, "Okay, well, it was the they say they stole something. Oh, actually, no, they say they got broken into, but nothing was stolen." And Harry's like, "Okay, that's weird. So why is this making news?" And she's like, "Because someone broke into Gringotts. People don't break into Gringotts." And he's like, "Well, then clearly someone does." He's like, "Besides, if it was one dude who can do it, I mean, it probably can't be that hard." Foreshadow. And so they're like, "Well, that's really weird. Okay, we'll just, go on about our day." Harry makes... I'm like realizing I skipped over some stuff. Harry's a really good flyer, it turns out, and so he becomes the youngest seeker in a century at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And plays for the Gryffindor Quidditch team, because usually first years are not allowed to be part of the Quidditch team. But McGonagall's like, he's good, because she's the head of Gryffindor House. She's like, "I want him on my team because I want to win. I'm making an exception for him." And Dumbledore's like, "You can't keep bending the rules." And she's like, "I can do whatever I want because I'm McGonagall." And he's like, "You know what? That's fair." So he's playing Quidditch, and he's having a good fun time. Catches a snitch. Actually swallows the first snitch he ever catches.
Yeah.
Because he just goes, he's like, "Oh, I swallowed a giant metal ball." And Ron and Hermione are like, "Is he okay?" And Harry's like, "No, I just swallowed a giant metal ball." But then he pops it up, and he's like, "Oh, dope. Guys, we're good." And they're like, "Oh, thank God, that could have been real bad."
They wait the whole time, and then he goes to the bathroom, and he's like, "Hey guys,
I got it." And they're like, "We don't want to know how that happened."
Do not hand that.
And they're like, "Bro, do not hand that to me, bro." So doesn't hand out things that passed through body. I mean, that should have been a given, but we'll make a note of it just to be safe.
For my research.
And so then they're like researching on stuff because, as far as I can remember, they overhear someone say something about, "Oh, I remember now." I mean, I've always remembered.
Yeah. As far as
Hagrid gets this like dragon egg, and they go down to like chill with him and be like, "Hey." He's like, "Guys, check it out. I got a dragon egg." And Ron's like, "That's so cool. My brother works with dragons." And Hagrid's like, "Oh, I remember your brother. He was chill. He was bro." And Harry's like, "So brothers can be? But what?"
My research.
Nothing makes sense anymore. So then they're hatching the egg, and they're like, "Hey." Or then turns out Malfoy, pale boy hair, because they're out like way after their bedtime. But Malfoy's spy on them, and he's like, "Ooh, they were out of bed past bedtime."
Like, you're also out of bed.
Yeah. But before he's able to turn them in, Harry and Ron and Hermione are like, "Okay, look, Hagrid, we're gonna help you. Like, obviously, you cannot keep a dragon in your hut. It's gonna grow too big. Things are gonna happen." And Hagrid's like, "But," and Ron's like, I'll write to my brother, and we can he'll take him to Romania, and it's gonna be great, and he can be with the rest of his kind." And Hagrid's like, "No, you're right." So Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they take Norbert and they sneak him up to a tower. They hand him off to Ron's brother and his friends. They get on broomsticks and they fly away. That's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
not
I didn't know that.
It's in the video game.
Like the
old
Lego?
no, this doesn't count because it's a video game. I don't think that part's in the video game. It's in the PC version.
Okay. Like the
old, very polygonal bodies.
Yeah.
But then they get ratted on because Malfoy's like, "They were out of bed after hours," and McGonagall's like, "Okay, yeah, they were, but so were you, so all four of you were getting detention." So they go into the creepy forest outside of school called the Forbidden Forest. Ooh. But calling the Forbidden Forest just makes kids want to go in it more. I mean, like, it was a dumb thing to call a forest, which was probably Dumbledore's intention, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. He's
I don't think he named the forest, but we'll just say he did.
yeah.
As far as I could, well, that doesn't, because that's not part of that book.
Okay.
That's like extended universe knowledge.
Just take the fish out and just hit you. It's like, I smell something fishy. Go watch our Mandalorian episodes 1 through 4 review.
And then so then they get detention, and then while they're in there's a creepy, weird guy, and he's drinking unicorn blood, and they're like, Harry's like, okay, I don't know anything about magic, even though I'm a magic boy, but this seems morally unethical, right?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't seem okay. And they're all like, yeah, no, this is really bad.
Vampires.
No, what? No, how dare you? Vampires
guy.
But no, it's impossible. That could never happen. And so they're like, okay, well, that was weird and bad. And Harry's like, yeah, my head was hurting. And then one day, they're talking to Hagrid, and they're like, hey, Hagrid, so what was like that thing that you got from the bank that one time? And Hagrid's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Hagrid's like, yes, you do. I was there. And Hagrid's like, I'm not going to tell you anything about the Sorcerer's Stone. And he's like, the what? And he's like, nothing. Slams the door in their face. And they're like, okay, well, now we have a lead. And so they're like trying to research the Sorcerer's Stone in the library. And Harry's like noticing this weird coincidence, like, bless you.
Bodily functions.
So like up at like the teacher's table, Quirrell and Snape are always sitting next to each other. And Harry's like, every time I look at Snape, I'm not Quirrell, obviously, because I'm looking at Snape. My head always hurts. It's so weird. And they're like, wow, Snape must like be really evil. And Harry's like, yeah, I think he is really evil.
Yeah, because he's strict and expects a lot out of people.
And is like actually abusive to students. Like he's super like awful to like Hermione and Neville. Like he's really bad to Neville. Like we think he's bad to Harry, he's worse to Neville.
Just toughens him up.
He's awful.
Just toughens him up.
And so they I lost my train of thought. I forgot where we were
They were sitting at the table.
Oh yeah, yes.
And
so then comes Christmas time, because I like jumped way ahead of that earlier.
Christmas time.
And Hermione's like, I'm going home to see my parents. And Harry's like, I don't have any of those. And Hermione's like, thanks for making this conversation awkward. That's really cool of you. And he's like, was it a bro move? She's like, sure. And he's like, remind people of dead parents. Good to know. That I can do very easily.
Open up conversation. My parents died.
My parents were brutally murdered. My parents were
before my own eyes, before the murderer turned to me.
My parents were brutally murdered before of me. My name's Harry Potter. What's your name? Just like, what? And so she's like, so while I'm gone, why don't you two keep researching what it is about the Sorcerer's Stone? And there's Nicholas Flamel, and because he's the dude who made the stone, like keep researching about it.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, no. That's all. This is Ollivander. This is Flamel. And so they're like, we don't want to. And then one day, they're sneaking around, and Harry gets this. Christmas Day comes, and Harry was not expecting any gifts. But it turns out Ron had written to his mother and was like, hey, he's probably not going to get anything. Can you like send him some presents? Yeah. So that she sends him like some fudge and all these cute presents. But then he gets one present. It's anonymous, and it's like, hey, this belonged to your dad, and now it's yours. And Harry's like, oh, cool, something from my dad. That's pretty cool. And it's a cloak, and he's like, oh, this is fun. It's pretty chill. And he puts it on, and Ron's like, bro, where'd you go? And Harry's like, trying to like scribble like notes under the cloak, like, and it turns out it's an invisibility cloak, and so he can turn invisible. And so they're like,
invisible or visible?
I said he can turn invisible, but at the end was like really quiet. It's an invisibility cloak, and it turns you invisible.
It's like I finally can be seen by everyone. People will notice me.
Oh, that's so sad. And so they're like, oh, we're gonna cause so much trouble with this. And Ron's like, wait, dude, because that one book's in the restricted section that we really want to read. You can use this to go read that. And Harry's like, oh, I could do that, couldn't I? Okay, cool. I'll do that. So one night,
it's in Brooklyn 999.
Cool. That's where I picked it up from. Like I can't stop doing it. And so he's in the restricted section. He's like trying to find the book. But then he's like, oh no, I hear people coming. I gotta sneak out of here. And ends up taking a few wrong turns down down some corridors because it's dark. It's still new to the castle, pretty much. And he ends up in this room where there's this mirror. And he sees on top of the mirror, there's an inscription. It says the Mirror of Erised. And there's a bunch of other stuff along the side of it. And he's like, this is written really weird. I can't tell what this says. But it turns out everything is just backwards. And it says, as far as I can remember, look in and it'll show your heart's desire. Which is Erised backwards. That's fun. And so he looks in the mirror and he sees his parents. And then he sees more of his extended family that he's never even seen pictures of. He sees them and he's like, I must be related to them because I can kind of see the resemblance, but mostly his parents.
Yeah.
But then he sees grandparents and stuff behind him, and he's like, oh, I'm feeling emotions. Oh no. And he's like, oh my gosh, this mirror, it's specifically for like my family. This must belong to me or something. That's super cool. So he goes and gets Ron, brings Ron back, and he's like, look, sees my parents. And Ron's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I see me looking fresh to death in some Quidditch robes, and like I'm holding a Quidditch cup, and I look awesome. And Harry's like, but I see my parents. And Ron's like, well, I don't see your parents. So. He's like, well, yeah, your parents are dead. And so Harry keeps coming back because he keeps looking at them, and he gets to actually see his parents because he never really got to see what they looked like before then because his uncle and his aunt and uncle didn't have any pictures of him. Yeah. And then one day Dumbledore shows up. And he's like, hey, yo, kid. And Harry's like, ugh. And he's like, nah, man, I'm kidding. You're not in trouble. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you is.
He's like, just, and Harry's like, what is this? And he's like, it's the mirror of Erised that shows you what, your heart truly desires. And Harry's like, oh. And he's like, so you see your family. And Harry's like, what do you see, Dumbledore? And Dumbledore's like, socks. Just socks. And Harry's like, oh, okay. And Dumbledore's like, don't ask anything about a blood pact. Has nothing to do with that. Because you saw Crimes of Grindelwald? Yeah. Yeah. So he's like, I didn't definitely nothing about an X or anything. No, just some nice fluffy wool socks. And Harry's like, I totally believe you. And Dumbledore's like, good. You can go to bed now.
Yeah, we're 10,000 points from Gryffindor.
And Harry's like, wait, so am I in trouble because I'm after out? And Dumbledore's like, no, kid, no, you're my favorite. Go to bed.
My favorite. He's got like this like weird Irish accent.
Yeah, my favorite head.
My favorite Harry.
Okay. So then some more time passes, fun stuff. Yip skip hooray. 'Cause I know I've been talking like for a while, but also I remember way more than I thought I was going to because it's been a long time since I've read it.
I'm very surprised.
It's like because I keep I'll remember stuff that's like I totally like the very beginning about like. The wizards.
The Dursleys and the wizards.
The Dursleys, like when they all, I was like, I totally forgot about that until we started this.
Yeah.
So some more stuff happens and they're like, oh my gosh. Harry's like, guys, I finally put it together. Like, what? And they're like, Snape is trying to steal the Sorcerer's Stone because Dumbledore got Hagrid to bring it to the school so they could protect it, but Snape is trying to steal it. And they're like, oh, that makes perfect sense because he sucks.
Yeah.
And they're like, awesome. We're gonna catch him red-handed. We got to get the stone before him. And then we're gonna turn to the authorities, and then we won't have to deal with him anymore. They're like, okay, so we're gonna go through this chamber. We're gonna go deal with Hagrid's three-headed dog Fluffy, who we have encountered before. That I just didn't mention.
Yeah, because that happened during the stuff.
It happened during the stuff, like I'm saying. It happened during the stuff. We have montage moments, and I can't go with everything that happens in a montage.
Yeah. Just some chill music.
Some chill music. And Harry's like, is this what bros do? And Ron's like, yeah, man, totally. And Harry's like, cool.
I'm just thinking of like Rocky, like when he's training.
And like there's like one of the clips is Harry like writing notes and just says bros question mark on the top.
Like he's got like a
board. So they go through these chambers and first up we got Fluffy and they're like, well, we have to lull him to sleep. And so as far as I can remember, there's a harp.
Yeah, there's a harp. There's a harp. Plays and all
yeah,
that.
And so they're making sure that they're like, oh, well, it's already been enchanted. He's already asleep. Let's just sneak past him. So they sneak past him, and they end up in these weird, gross, slimy plants. And they're down there, and they're like, they start getting captured, and they're like, oh my goodness. This is another thing that's different in the movie is that, so they're freaking out. Hermione's like, oh, they're like afraid of light. If only we had a light source. And Ron's like, woman, are you or are you not a magic girl? And Hermione's like, oh yeah. And then she starts casting the light and stuff.
Illuminati.
Yeah, Illuminati.
That is a big triangle that comes out.
Yeah. And Harry's like,
it's like this what the bros do?
This is what bros do? Illuminati. And Ron's like, yeah, man. Harry's like, wow.
The biggest of bros.
And so then they fall through the fine floor and they're good to go. And they're like, okay, cool. They like the three of them only have one brain cell and it jumps between the three of them. Only one person can have the brain cell at a time. At that moment, Ron had the brain cell.
Yeah, it's like the eyes from like Hercules, like with the face.
Yeah, they can only hit only one of them can use it at a time.
Yeah.
So they drop down and then it's a room with a bunch of keys. And Harry's like, oh cool, flying room, my room. So he flies on a broomstick, catches the right key, and puts it in the door and they go into the next room. And then it's a wizard chess room and Ron's like, awesome, I am great at wizard's chess. And Harry's like, cool. So they do that and Ron's, calling all the shots. He's like, go here. He's like, all right, the only way for us to get past this one move is like, he's like, I have to sacrifice me. And then Harry, you can go and checkmate.
As far as
I can remember. As far as I can remember, it might actually have been Hermione. Okay, as far as I can remember, Ron's like, I'm gonna do this, and then we can finish them off and get the checkmate move. So they do that. Ron gets knocked unconscious, and they're like, ooh, that's bad. He's probably got a concussion. And Hermione's like, he'll be fine. We'll come back for him. He's
like, hard-headed.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And Harry's like, are you sure about that? And Hermione's like, no, he's a magic boy. He'll be fine. And so they go into the next room.
Brain's just swelling up, you know.
So they go to the next room, and there's a riddle. And it's basically saying...
Tom Riddle?
Not yet. One more room. So...
You gotta give that camera a look.
So it's a riddle, and Hermione's like, oh, okay, this is... Okay, so... Deduction. Okay, so this potion will get us... Because there's 2 firewalls. And you gotta make sure you have the right, program to get past them.
Yeah.
So Hermione's like, okay, here, Harry, take this potion. It will get you into the next room. I'll take this potion, and I can go get Ron, and I can go get help. And Harry's like, okay, sounds good. So he takes potion, moves on to the next room, and he's like, all right, Snape, where are you? And Professor Quirrell turns around. And he's like, Professor Quirrell, thank God you're here. You can help us stop Snape. And Quirrell's like, really? And Harry's like,
bro.
And Harry's like, yes. So he he just pulls out the notepad. Yes. And he's like, are you serious? And he's like, yes, bros are serious.
Serious Snape?
He's like, yeah, serious Snape, like the guy who's trying to steal the stone. Snape is trying to steal the stone. Professor Quirrell, thank God you are here. And Quirrell's like, no, I'm stealing the stone. And Harry's like, oh, bro. And then Quirrell's like, I'm not your bro. And he's like, but you just call me bro. Scratches out his notes.
And then he's like, vampire.
Oh, vampire. And then he's like, I had to drink unicorn blood to sustain my master. And Harry's like, what? And then he takes off.
Didn't he always like smell like garlic or something? Like he always had like a smell.
He always smelled. He always tried to. They said he had this like weird smell on him, but they were like, oh, we think it's garlic because he's like deathly afraid of vampires now. Okay. But it turns out, as far as I can remember, he removes the turban. I totally did not forget about that. Takes off the turban, and there's a head there, and he's like, hello, Harry Potter, and Harry's like, is this normal?
And like Quirrell's just facing the other way, just like he's like, stop turning your head. He's
like, oh, look at this. And Voldemort's like, stop. And he's like, I'm Voldemort, and Harry's like, oh, you tried to kill me. And he's like, yes, I did, but you have the stone in your pocket now. And Harry's like, oh, but look at that. I do have the stone in my pocket, don't I? Because he's a magic boy. He got the stone in his pocket from looking at the mirror. He got the stone.
That makes no sense at all.
So, all right, let me explain it in better detail from as far as I can remember. So the Quirrell is like, boy, get over here. And Harry's like, no. And he's like, boy, get over here. And Harry's like, fine. So he walks over to the mirror and he's like, tell me what you see. And then he sees himself with the stone. He's holding the stone. And Harry's like, I guess I have it because I don't want to use the stone for bad. I just want to keep it from falling into wrong hands. I don't want to use the stone at all, actually. Yeah. And so then Voldemort's like, oh, he's got the stone in his pocket. I want the stone. And Harry's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Harry's
where to go with that?
Where to go? Where the stone at? And so he's like, okay, look, I know I tried to kill you, but like, what if we could like join forces? And Harry's like, that doesn't sound trustworthy. Again, kill my parents and try to kill me. I'm going to have to give a hard pass on that, but thank you for offering. And Voldemort's like, all right, well, then it's time to kill you. And Harry's like, wait, what? But then, because he had the stone, which is ultimate magic stone, he, disintegrates just completely disintegrates Quirrell.
Yeah,
And
like the Mando with his rifle.
Yeah, exactly. Harry pulls out the rifle from his back and just boom, boom. And
the
then
clothes
just poof. And then this remainder of Voldemort's spirits that's been like barely hanging on since the incident with Harry all those years ago. He, escapes. And then Harry's like, I'm sleepy. I'm going to go to sleep now.
I've been traumatized.
And so he wakes up in the hospital wing. And Dumbledore's like, hey man, what's up? And Harry's like, I feel like I've been through a lot. And Dumbledore's like, you have. And he's like, oh wait, Voldemort was here and he escaped. And Dumbledore's like, don't worry about that, man. Don't trust me. You got a big storm coming. Don't worry about that. And then
several Horcruxes deep.
I have an interesting tidbit to say about that, but I will not say it now. I'll say it afterwards.
Okay.
He was like, so Harry's like, wait, what about my friends? And he's like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. Like, they're totally fine. It's cool. So let's hurry this ending along. Let's get you to the Great Hall. And Harry's like, oh, okay. So they go to the Great Hall, and it's like, oh, Slytherin won. And Dumbledore's like, haha, you thought not Gryffindor. And they're like, Dumbledore, so you can't do this. He's like, I am the headmaster. I can do whatever I want. Gryffindor wins.
Because I'm from Gryffindor. And then he dabs.
Honestly, book Dumbledore, yes. And so then the school year's over. They head back into London. And Harry's like, great, I have to go live with my aunt and uncle again for the summer. And they're like, well, don't worry. We're going to write to you over the summer. I'm sure no weird house elf is going to interfere with that. It'll be fine. Harry's like, that's weirdly specific for you to say, but okay. And then that's the end of the first book.
All right.
As far as I can remember.
Well, there you have it, everybody. There's book 1 of the Harry Potter and the Search for Bros.
The Search for Harry. The next one is, so this is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Bro, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Bros, Harry Potter and the Bro of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the
Order.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Bro, or the Bro of Fire. Goblet of Bro. Yeah, and then Harry Potter and the Order of the Bro, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Bro, Harry Potter and the Deathly Bros.
Because they were brothers.
They were brothers, and Harry's like descended from them.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Like the last name changes over the years, but he's descended from the Percivals.
Oh, interesting. So there you have it, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed the inaugural episode of As Far As I Can Remember. Allie, you did a fantastic job.
Remembered way more than I thought I was going to. I needed to do I should have done book 5. Like, it'd been weird to do book 5, but I think I remember that one the least.
We'll get there. Get there. If you enjoyed it, let us know by hitting that like button. Share it with somebody. We're going to be doing more of these. I think the next episode is going to be me talking about a Star Wars book. So come check that out. We're going to be going through all of Harry Potter. We're going to be going through a bunch of books, going through some movies as well.
Yes, the movies.
So it's going to be awesome. Come back, enjoy it, share it with somebody that you love, because sharing is caring and it can be fun. And if you want to check out the books, they're everywhere.
Yeah, there's and even I think they're up to book 5 now. They've for the Harry Potter books, they've been going through and doing full actual illustrated books.
Really?
Going through, and the art style is absolutely beautiful. You can find them at I'd say probably any bookstore. I've been wanting to get my hands on some. I think they're upwards of $30. So they're a little pricier, but it's because of it's supposed to be a children's illustrated book.
Yeah.
They're pretty big too. Yeah. But they're really cool. I'd say go check them out.
Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. If you want to support the show, just share, subscribe, all those good things. We'll be catching y'all next time. This has been Zach.
And Allie.
Y'all have a blessed week.